An absolutely insane day in the markets. We had a really good read on the NASDAQ. With the ES making a new low, the NASDAQ was trying to push up. And we were talking about it on the live stream. We're like, guys, I don't believe this push. I do not believe this push on the NASDAQ. It's not going to hold. If the ES is making new lows, the ES is selling, I'm thinking the NASDAQ's going to follow it. I want to show you guys some setups right here and a trap as well. We got a trap here. It's 11:35. I want to show you guys this trap on the 1 minute chart and what's going on today. This big move down. Let's go. All right, first things first, $3,372 today in the Topstep accounts, and locking it all down there with 3 accounts, $3,000, and mostly just shorts here on the NASDAQ today. We took one loser, ended up just getting a stupid squeeze and I got stopped out, but we made it happen and locked in the profit there. And I want to show you guys kind of what we are looking at in the overall like setups here. So on the 1 minute chart, this is the trap I want to talk about really quickly. We are looking at this level right here at the end of day, not the end of the day, at the 11:35. It's 11:30 time. So we are looking at this level. We kind of push back up, and you guys see what's going on here. This 120 area keeps bouncing. 120 keeps bouncing, and we were like talking about it. I'm like, I don't really like shorting down here. There's a good chance to kind of, of a push back up after that big move down. The MACD is kind of holding there. We're going sideways. This is a area that I don't want to be participating in, at least short. Like, I don't want to be shorting down here. Even though I saw that there was that 13,100 area down there, I'm like, I don't know. I don't want to get short down here. And look at this trap. So they kept testing that 20, kept testing 20 here, and like kept holding 20. And then this dipped down there to the 10. So you know what happened is people were waiting for that break below 20. We were kind of like, oh, if it breaks below 20, we might get this break down there to the 13,100 area. And it ended up bouncing right off that 10. So the shorts kind of jump in there. The retail traders who were, chasing this thing after that big move down. And guess what? It rips back up and pushes up there and breaks out. You got the shorts who have their stops kind of at the high of these candles. They get stopped out, and now it's up there to the 60s, maybe pushing up there to the 70s. The big thing today, though, look at this move on the NASDAQ right now. Beautiful move. We had a couple of sell signals actually here on the indicator. There was a sell signal this morning at around 10 o'clock to get short here. We were below the VWAP. We had the news coming out at 10 a.m. We had some kind of choppy action. You see on the 15-minute chart, that first 30 minutes kind of just choppy action. The numbers came out. We actually pushed up here to that 13,300 area. And I was like, watching the ES, seeing that the ES was down at the lows. The ES was like down here at the lows, and the NASDAQ was up here at the highs. And I'm like, I don't buy it. Like, I'm not buying it. It doesn't make sense. I think we're going to go lower here. And we talked about that exact move happening, and we got the sell signal here as well. So we got the sell signal when we broke down here through the 13,280 area. So getting short for this move down, and today was one of those days where you could have literally just gotten short at the highs and just rode it on down. Look at this thing, just do. And we talked about this on the 15-minute chart as well. This idea, like, it's really difficult, right, to sometimes like switch from the idea of the market being choppy, which yesterday the market was very choppy. I was thinking that maybe today the market was also going to be very choppy because of the FOMC meeting tomorrow. So I'm like, I don't know if I really want to hold. Like, am I going to hold? Am I going to hold here? But it was funny because we had a couple pivot points as well on the NASDAQ that we were looking at. And I was like, well, I'm always kind of looking for those pivots for my targets. And that first pivot was that 13,200 area. And that's what I was looking for target. And I actually got covered literally right there at that 13,200 area right before it bounced back up. And then they actually ended up making a bigger move. But it was funny because when we were here at the 13,200 level, I was like, well, there's a pivot, down there at the 42s. And I'm like, well, I don't think we're going to get to the 42s like that quickly. But you see how we pretty much went right to the 42s there. And if we look at the 15-minute chart again, look at how beautiful this trend was. I mean, you could have, easily, this is one of those days. Again, it's hard to know, like, is today going to be a trend day? Is tomorrow going to be a trend day? We never know. We never know, like, what the market's going to do. And especially since yesterday, the market was so choppy, it's like so hard to switch from the idea of like, oh, the market's going to be crappy, it's going to be choppy, to like, oh, let's get short and just hold for a big move down. I mean, that's a 200-point move, basically. 180 point move to the downside there. And you basically could have gotten short here when we talked about that short signal and then just rode this, down, kept moving your stop to the high of these 15-minute candles and got a move all the way down there to the 140 pivot. And all you had to do was just keep moving your stop to the high of these 50-minute candles. Again, it's hard to know that we're going to be trending like that, but today was definitely one of those days where we were just sell, sell, sell. The ES was selling. And it was funny because yesterday the ES was stronger than the NASDAQ. So the ES was actually leading the market and the NASDAQ was following. Where today the ES was really weak and the ES was selling through levels and showing that it was breaking through the low of day. And that's why I was like, man, like there's no way the NASDAQ's going to hold up here when the ES is making a new low. The NASDAQ kept making a new low. The ES kept making a new low. The NASDAQ was kind of holding, and I'm like, I'm pretty confident that this is going to break the downside. I'm pretty confident we're going to make a new low here on the NASDAQ, and that's exactly what we did. So you see that big, massive move today, almost a 200-point move here. 190-point move here after that break below 13,300. We talked about it during the live stream, like waiting until after the news at 10 a.m., and that's exactly what we got. We got the beautiful move here, and we locked in profit. And I told everyone on the live stream, like, guys, like if you missed out on this move right here and you're still sitting here and you're like, am I going to trade this? Am I going to trade down here? Like, hey, you just missed out on a 200-point straight down move. I mean, you could have literally just gotten short at any of these breaks. We talked about this over the weekend as well, like really waiting for these areas where it got nice and tight. And this was an area that I was looking for a short right here. We got really tight there on this price action, kind of getting tight. And look at this candle like right here. Look at how tight this is. I mean, this is like from the 21s to the like a 5-point range on this little candle. And that's like a sign that there's something going to happen. Like we're either going to break the upside here, or we're going to break down. Overall momentum is pointing down. So we're thinking we're going to break down. So we're looking for a short here, and we're looking for that move down there to the 13,200 area. And that's exactly what we got. But again, it's all about patience. It's about identifying that this is where we're getting tight. We're waiting, and we're waiting for that like candle to really show us that like this is the point of either we're gonna pop or we're gonna drop. We're either gonna pop or we're gonna drop, right? That's the big focus right now. I talked about that over the weekend. Like that's my big focus right now, is waiting for these areas that are like, hey, it's time to short. Hey, it's time to get long. It's time to go, right? Like that's exactly what we're looking for here. So that was the kind of like perfect setup for me. I like that we had a pretty good read on the idea that the NASDAQ was pushing up while the ES was making a new low. I didn't buy into it. I did not believe the NASDAQ was going to keep pushing higher and higher as the NASDAQ was making new, or the ES was going to not take the NASDAQ down with it there. So that was kind of the setup of the day, the overall thesis. Tomorrow we get at the FOMC meeting. So we got a lot of stuff going on this week, a lot of volatility, and I expect some pretty good volatility after the meeting tomorrow. 2:30, doing the press conference, and then like around 3 o'clock, we'll see what happens. But right now, that's kind of what we're looking at in another day, doing it all live here on YouTube for you guys. If you haven't already tuned in the morning, please tune in, check us out, hit the subscribe button, like button, all the buttons down below. I will talk to you guys later on.